I'm Jonathan Hayes of the St. Louis Battlehawks, and this is the XFL Show.
More burger for the love of football. 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 Let's go.
Welcome, football fans. This is the week of February 27th, 2022, on the road to kickoff 2023. This is For the Love of Football, and this is the XFL Show. I'm Allie.
And I'm Bryant.
It's official. The XFL and the NFL have announced a partnership that will see both leagues work together in an effort to innovate and grow the game of football. This is episode 210. We're talking about the Petri dish, Bryant. We are 50 weeks from kickoff, and the XFL has now been designated a innovation ground, an experimental ground for the NFL. People have been calling it for months. It's now official. We kind of didn't want to believe it, but we kind of saw it coming at the same time. Lots to talk about today. Biggest news yet on this long road.
So you're telling me, just want to make sure this is on because I want everyone to hear this. Okay. You're telling me that this isn't an announcement of an announcement? This isn't an announcement that we might work together? Like, this is
No,
news
they're working together. No, both parties announced and confirmed
that
working
we're
together.
not talking about possibly working together. No.
No. Working together.
Working
It's
together.
happening. This isn't like the CFL deal. No, this is actually partnered and aligned. It's an alignment, if you will, between the XFL and the NFL. We'll break
I'm
down
so excited.
all the details, but it's exciting. It's interesting. And we'll get into our initial reactions actually in a second. I don't want to give anything out early. Let's just get into it. Let's have fun today. Big show, recording it earlier than usual. But maybe we should have recorded later than usual last week. I don't know. lots to catch up on in just the few days since we did last episode, Bryant. But real quick, 724-5654-XFL is the XFL fan line. Call, text, leave a voicemail, be a part of the show there. And of course, at XFL Show on Twitter and all social media if you want to interact there. And boy, oh boy, are people going to start interacting now that the XFL is aligned with the NFL. This is as big and broad as it possibly could be for the league, I think, going into next year's kickoff. What exactly does it all mean? What do you feel when you hear the XFL is aligned and working with the NFL too? We want to get those reactions, so keep them flooding in. In the meantime, we're going to put together a bust-ass show to give you all the information and everything announced this week, this big week on the road to 2023. We are brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts. You could go to prettyeasypodcast.com to get your own podcast started today. And they're the best because not only are they producers and editors, they're friends, because only a friend would, in the cold, dark middle of the night, accept a text or phone call or email and respond to it when you say, we got to do a show earlier than normal this week. And they'd say, we're in. Pretty Easy Podcasts will do that for you. They'll work with you on your schedule. That's the beauty of it. And of course, all the help you get with all the stuff maybe you don't want to learn, like editing audio and whatnot. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com. Get your podcast sounding great. Have fun doing it today.
Because they make podcasting pretty easy. So easy that I didn't have to ask them to spell Petri because I don't know how.
It's Petri, I think.
No, I know it is. I just don't know it. Like,
You didn't?
ask me in a month. I'll be like,
I spelled busy wrong once in a spelling bee in school.
please.
There's no Z in busy.
Learn
Learn that the hard way. Exactly. All right, let's get into the dinking and dunking here. This is kind of a catch-all. A lot of people responding to the last episode. More than this was said, but I pretty much took this the most to heart, Bryant. People said you couldn't have picked a worse time to release this episode, basically, for episode 209, coming out literally a day before the XFL NFL announcement was made. Our bad, I guess. Sorry.
Our bad. How long have I
No.
been saying that I don't want an episode to age well? And
Oh,
it finally happened.
It's
It
kind of
finally
what
happened.
Actually, it's Bryant's favorite episode of all time now
Yes.
because it aged poorly a day
It
later.
aged poorly. It aged like a bottle of wine in the sun.
I like that. Even on that particular episode, someone called it out and timestamp commented on XFL.show on the YouTube channel.
Did they really?
They said this one didn't age well, and I'm pretty sure it was me saying, just because The Rock was on the 50-yard line at the Super Bowl does not mean the XFL's working with the NFL. Which is kind of true.
It's still true. Like, you can't just say because he did that, there's other factors. He probably would have been there anyway. Hey, we need someone to do a Bruce Buffer kind of thing, but we don't want it to be the Buffers. Who else could we get?
Someone who's buffer than both Buffer brothers combined.
Exactly. Who's more buffer than Buffer? Boom.
You don't get any buffer. So, okay, yeah, it didn't age well, but we're happy about that. So happy about that. Biggest news yet, and oh my goodness, is it huge? And I'm kind of
if you're hampering on us because it didn't age well, you're missing the whole point of this whole thing.
No, but I think people were also happy about that too. It's kind of a glow. We're all in it as XFL fans, and as a USFL fan too, though, I am kind of bummed because we don't really get this week to sink our teeth into the draft that happened. We're going to talk about it here in just a minute, but not as much time as I initially thought we would, Bryant. But it's a good thing because we're focused on the XFL and the NFL, working to innovate the game together. And the initial reactions on social media were, I would say, mostly positive for the XFL when you consider where the XFL was at, bankruptcy, and now it's tied in with the NFL. And it's not like an NFL Europe's developmental type situation. It's a partnership where the XFL's going to have freedom to do what the XFL does, and that's innovate. That's why I'm excited. And you see people like Ian Rappaport saying it's an open admission by the NFL that they're going to use XFL ideas moving forward, whereas before they would use XFL ideas, but no credit was given really for things like Skycam and more access to players and coaches. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how the NFL treats the relationship too, because obviously it's the NFL. They're real buttoned up and cautious with everything, but the XFL is going to be progressive and kind of afforded the opportunity to fly by the seat of their pants and do whatever they want. It seems like we'll see what kind of reins are put in on the XFL now that they have a partner in crime when it comes to growing the game of football. That's what I'm most excited to see. And that's what I think the consensus on social media was.
Yeah, we'll just talk about social media because I think this whole episode is really going to be us breaking this down here in a little bit. But really on social media, you noticed fans wondering what this could be. A lot of people thinking, hey, what does this mean? What does it mean? I even had people ask me what it meant. I was at a birthday party and they go, what is this? Does this mean that they're going to share players? Is it going to be a minor league? There's so many. We're going to answer all those questions, or at least in our own opinion. But to get that, if you say XFL and NFL in the same sentence in a positive way, most of us sitting in this talking about the XFL for the last 2 years didn't think that was going to be possible.
It's really it's crazy to think that this is where the XFL is going to be next year, a league kicking off, and it's going to be, I guess, co-sponsored by the NFL. It's got the NFL stamp of approval as the other league. It's the official other league of the NFL. Can we say that? Maybe by the end of the show we'll figure that out, or I don't know, or maybe something will be said. But the USFL doesn't have that distinction, nor does any other league. And what does that mean for the long-term viability of the league? I think it bodes well when you're in with the NFL because they don't like to give up and cut losses too quickly either. They're going to try to make it work. I would hope so. So that also bodes well. It's really, is it only good things? Maybe not. We'll have to dig for some negatives. And of course, we want to hear from you what you think of the NFL and the XFL working together. Because we have said in the past, the NFL working with the XFL, what does that mean? Well, maybe it could put the kibosh on the innovation and the fun that we all love about the XFL. Is that going to happen now? Maybe not. with some of the words Danny Garcia especially said, I think, that we're going to get into in a little bit, Brian. But first, let's give the USFL its due. It did have a big week with its draft, and a lot of former XFL players were taken in this draft. And we also have to settle a bet because you're supposed to know at least 20 players from that draft or else you lose. It's going to be part of this week's cover too. So in case you missed it, the USFL, the United States Football League, held its draft earlier this week on Tuesday and Wednesday. 38 rounds of total nonstop draft action, all done on Twitter for the fans. And I was following closely, Bryant. We were sending tweets back and forth to each other. I didn't really put it out there, though, because I don't want you to Google players and pretend like you knew them.
I said I wouldn't cheat. I said I would do this fairly. I said that.
Well, let's see how fairly you did it, because some big names were taken off the board if you're an XFL fan, especially early in this draft. So who'd you notice? Do you have 20 players you recognize from this draft?
No, I didn't have 20. I mean, from what I've seen, I don't have 20. I don't know if there's. I have to do a deep dive. I will say this about this entire draft process: is Twitter not the place? Not the place to announce your draft picks. No, don't do it. XFL.
I mean, I'll say this. It's great for a podcaster like you and I, because when I'm getting ready for the show, then I can go to the USFL's Twitter and have easy infographics to read when I'm breaking down the draft and what I want to say about it. So that's good. But for fans, yeah, you're right. Not too entertaining. Not really informative.
It's not even that it's not entertaining. It's not. The problem becomes as a fan. It took me 10 scrolls of full page scrolls to get to like pick 6, because they throw images, they throw this, they throw a little summary of that person, and then look, it's Big E and it's Terry Bradshaw.
Cool.
It's like
they got a bunch of awesome athletes and icons to do these announcements, but it wasn't a part of any kind of televised event. It was just on Twitter. Like, if you give me an hour of draft coverage on an FS1 and you have Bo Jackson and Terry Bradshaw and Big E and Jimmy Rollins in this thing, I'm going to watch. But they didn't do that. They did it on Twitter.
My problem with Twitter is that
the time.
It's too messy. It's too messy to do it on Twitter, because you have so much noise on Twitter, and especially with Twitter not in its algorithms, any social media platform and its algorithms are not going to put those picks in order. So there's that as well. So you have to actually go to the page to see them in order, unless you change your settings, which it just becomes a mess. And then after the draft was over, the first round, I went to the USFL.com, and I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything for a few hours.
Yeah.
And then finally, late at night, probably 10, 11 o'clock my time, which is West Coast time, I finally saw the summary of the first round, kinda.
Maybe you should have gone to USFL2.com.
I was thinking about this, Alan. Do you think someone was like, "Hey, can you guys get the USFL.com?" He's like, "Yeah, we're on it." And he meant like and then like
the USFL. Oh, it was.
And then someone's like, "We got it. We got the USFL.com."
All right. Well, since Bryant doesn't know 20 players in this draft, and I definitely did, I think there's at least 20 XFL players in this draft.
Well, hold on. I think I should get another crack at this, because I haven't looked at it all. I've been consumed with XFL, NFL news.
Okay. Well, I have a list of players.
Let me look them all of them. Well,
I have a list.
Here, give me the list, and I'll tell you if I remember them. Honestly, I'll tell you.
Okay, here's Alan's players of note from the USFL draft. Players I recognize and I'm excited to see in the United States Football League. Quarterback, Michigan Panthers, Shea Patterson.
Michigan guy, I know the name.
Yeah, Ole Miss transferred to Michigan. Remember him? No?
Not the Ole Miss.
He was the first overall pick.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. I mean, he would have been Michigan's pick, whether Michigan picked 1st or 8th, but whatever. It's good.
Tampa Bay Bandits took Jordan Ta'amu.
That one I knew. That was the one I knew.
Of course. Shout out to the Battlehawks. If you come back in 2023, don't know you'll be able to get your QB back, but maybe Heineke will be out there. Birmingham Stallions quarterback Alex Magoo. No relation to Mr. Magoo.
See, that's what I was hoping, but I guess not. So no.
He was a Seahawks backup. Pete Carroll lauded him, loved him. Played for the Sea.
Okay.
Was in their camp, actually. I don't even know if he ever dressed. Kyle Lauletta.
See, the
Drafted by
name
the
just
Pittsburgh
sounds
Maulers.
familiar, but
Giants.
how do you feel about that being your quarterback?
Played for the Giants. He's Kyle Lauletta, the first starting quarterback in Pittsburgh in the post Ben Roethlisberger era. Can you believe it?
Kind of.
Who would have guessed it? Kinda. Officially announced starter. He's the first guy.
First
all right, we'll run through
team to start for a team that is from Pittsburgh via Birmingham ever.
Remember Savon Walker?
Yeah, that I remember. He was part of our top 5 defensive player of the year.
Sack leader of the XFL, drafted by the Michigan Panthers. What about James Folston Jr., Hail to Pitt? No? He was drafted by the New Orleans Breakers. He played, I believe, for, I want to say the Renegades or the Battlehawks. One of those blue teams.
Oh, or the
blue,
Defenders.
Right? They were in red, I know that. Isaiah Battle. Tackle?
Swerve?
Oh. No.
The names, I remember the name, though.
Clemson.
I do remember the name.
If you just watched Big Time College, he played for Clemson. Houston Gamblers, Jamar Summers, cornerback.
I picture Steve Levy's name, like calling his name for some reason. But that's about it.
Quarterback Paxton Lynch.
Yeah, I've never seen him play, and I don't know much about him, but I do know the name. We talked about him as being a possibility.
9 feet tall, drafted by the Broncos. Yeah. He'll be actually competing with Shea Patterson. He got drafted by Michigan too. Eli Rogers.
Very similar situation to what happened with Houston, with the Houston Roughnecks, right? They had 2 quarterbacks, and now they're going to pick one. Eli Rogers played for the DC Defenders.
There you
Traded
go.
From the Wildcats to the Defenders, if I'm not mistaken, preseason.
Former Steeler too. Wide receiver Jeff Bedett.
That I know he played for Dallas Renegades.
Yes.
And the reason I know him the most is because Jake was always like, is it Bidet or Bedett? What is it?
What about the Bandits drafting Jordan Lasley, wide receiver?
No.
UCLA. What about Vinny Papali, wide receiver?
That's the son of the whatever, isn't he?
Hijo de Invincible.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
Son of Invincible.
That's that name.
He was also at the XFL Summer Showcases.
So that tells you something that Bob Stoops disregarded as something that was just for show. the USFL signing players from that.
Safety.
Drafting players from that, mind you.
Philly Stars got safety Jack Tocho.
Tocho played, I think he played for the Wildcats.
Yeah. The Bandits drafted center and radio show host Bruno Reagan.
No?
No. He's been covering it on like the development of the XFL and the USFL on his own radio show, I think in Tennessee. Inside linebacker Benaquez Brown. Good SEC player at Mississippi State. He's on the Gamblers. What about Scooby Wright?
Yeah, I remember him.
Inside linebacker, Arizona.
He definitely played for the Hot Shots in the AFL. That's how
yes, you're right.
I think he played for. What did he play for? He didn't play. No. Did he play for Houston? No, it must have been
in the XFL.
It might have been the Dragons. Or did he even play in the XFL?
I don't know if he is in the XFL. He definitely was in the AAF.
Yeah,
and the AAF definitely at least aired their draft on television, at least some
kind
of
it. The first 10, 5, 8 picks. Kind of.
And
they weren't even a draft. I'm sorry. They did the first 3 quarterbacks. Go ahead.
I have a handful more here for you. Reggie Northrop.
No.
Badass linebacker, Florida State. He got drafted by the Gamblers. Vidal Alexander.
The only Vidal I know was in high school, and he was about 40. I don't even know if his name was Vidal.
He's a guard. He played at LSU. I covered him when I worked down in South Louisiana. That's how I know him. But happy he's on the Pittsburgh Maulers. What about Damian Mama?
Yeah, we interviewed him in Houston.
Yes, we did. Yep, he's on the Bandits.
And then he got traded the next day. Or like 2 days later, he got traded.
Okay. I know you'll get this one, but I'm going to... What about Owen Roberts?
Why would I know that one?
Good friend of the show, Owen Boogie
Yes.
Roberts.
Oh, well then Boogie Roberts, get out of here. I have a selfie with Boogie.
He got drafted.
Boogie Roberts, Boogie on touchdown.
Drafted by the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Last defensive
Mike,
touchdown in the XFL.
All right, we'll run this down real quick. The Generals got Trey Williams.
Yeah, he was on the
Running back, played
Wildcats
for
as well.
the Dragons.
Who was there was a Trey?
Oh, you're talking about the linebacker that went to Auburn.
Yes,
became a
his name was
coach.
Trey Williams, right? Yeah, okay.
Was his last name Williams? Yeah, we interviewed him too. Damn,
I thought it was
feel
Trey
bad
Williams.
about that one. All right, one of my favorite players in the XFL, DeMarcus Gates.
Yeah, he was a linebacker for Houston.
Yes. What about Austin McGinnis?
Not kicker, but he played for the Renegades.
Kicker, never missed.
Kicker. Okay, was it a kicker?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and Nicholas Truesdell.
I didn't know they drafted kickers. Oh, well, that was today.
Yeah. And last one, Nicholas Truesdell.
Yeah, that's the Nick Truesdell out of the tight end.
First
for Tampa
pick,
Bay.
a first pick in the XFL, right? First rounder.
Yeah.
I think he was in the last round of the USFL draft, only because tight ends and H-backs were no second to last behind or before long snappers.
To me, Storm Norton is a first overall pick in the XFL. He was the first lineman taken. So you got it's
true.
all perception.
He's given up a ton of sacks this year, but hey, he did all right. He was in there in relief. All right, those are my players of note
So
from
I
the
knew a
USFL
few.
draft. You knew a handful. A lot of XFLers in there.
How many player totals did you just read off?
How many? Oh man, I didn't count them. How
Okay.
many?
Well, was it around 20?
There. It was over 20. Yeah.
It was over 20. I don't think even from that list. If you, no, I probably didn't get to 20.
And I'd left a bunch off there that I know they weren't of note. And a lot of those were to try to see if I thought you might know them. So there you go.
I'd know them if they played in the XFL more than not.
Well, you didn't get Owen Roberts, so I'm ashamed of him. So Bryant now owes me. Bryant owes me something. I'll make him cash in on next week's show. We got too much to do now. We got to get into this XFL NFL partnership. And before we break down the quotes from the brass and everybody involved, I want to know what went through your mind. Part 2 of our cover 2 here, and I'll tell you what I was thinking immediately. Quick hit, keep it short. When this was announced, when you first saw it, wherever you saw it, what was your first reaction? What did you think about? Go.
I thought honestly, I'm going to go honest. I thought the XFL lost its power to do what it wanted to do. Because even with when you look at the headlines and when you look at what is just presented in bold when you go online, all you see is NFL to use the XFL as like a petri dish, a testing facility, whatever you may call it. And then you feel like the XFL kind of lost its power to be able to do those types of things. But then you read more about it, it's different. We'll get into that. But that was my initial reaction. Was it all positive? No. It was very positive in the sense to me that I was like, the XFL has something that no spring league has ever had before. And that is the support of the NFL.
Yep, that's kind of where I was leaning. But actually, to be honest, the first reaction, my first thought was, damn, we got to do a show way sooner this week. We got to get off our asses. That was the first. No, but
we got to do slides. Real slides.
The first reaction was, oh no, does this mean that it's not going to be fun? That was my first reaction, honestly, because that was my worry. And that's what we've always talked about. Oh, the XFL could be a breeding ground for the NFL. It could be a place where they could store extra players and use it as a, like they did in NFL Europe, a place, just a minor league. But It's not a minor league, and that's what we've been told even after this announcement was made. And that eased my worried mind when I read the ESPN article that especially accompanied this announcement was tremendous, giving a little bit more insight than just the press releases. I'm glad something like that came out along with this, and we got to break it all down now. So that we know our initial reaction, a little bit of worry, of course, interest and excitement that we got some actual news, but what was actually announced? What did everybody involved say? And now what do we think now that we've digested this information a little bit more about the road to kickoff 2023 moving forward and the future of the XFL, we could break it all down in this week's Hot Read. New York, February 21st, 2022. The XFL today announced it would collaborate with the NFL on select innovation programs to further expand the game of football and create increased opportunities for player development both on and off the field. That's the official press release from the XFL. You can read that on XFL.com and plenty more where that came from on that website and a few others. The NFL's website even published an article about it. Of course, they did. They're part of this. ESPN's Kevin Seifert had a great article with some more quotes. We're going to break it all down now in the Hot Read. Bryant, first up, let's talk about the president of the XFL, Russ Brandon, who said our ongoing collaboration with the NFL football ops is an important distinction for us as we focus on innovation and the player experience. That right there, the head of the league and also football ops will be working with, saying they'll work directly with NFL football ops. This is all about this, the figuring out how the future of this game is going to look, I think. This is now giving the NFL an opportunity. I think on their side, they see it as a way to test things out, especially on the safety side of the game, and maybe some of the rules that people are fed up with in their league, kickoffs and maybe pass interference and other big question marks we always have. And from the XFL side, obviously, it's a way to get support from someone who's going to maybe help you have stability. Maybe we don't know any financials, if there are any funding or whatever, but marketing, of course. So seeing that quote first, I brought that up first because I think we need to distinguish that this is the XFL's football ops and the NFL's football ops working together toward a goal, first and foremost. Not so much the XFL business and the NFL business working together. This is a football ops partnership.
Yeah, and it brings it kind of level sets it, right? You look at the headlines, like I was saying, it says XFL NFL partnership. You're like, what's going on? But then you read the details, and it's an operational partnership. So maybe the XFL says these are our ideas. The NFL says these are our ideas. How do we combine them? How do we make it work? How do we do both? We are running into that. Like, we are almost out of time to really make changes for that first season. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. You're starting to, you're less than a year away from kickoff. So how much innovation can you do with the rule book? Maybe they keep the rule book this season. See how a full season, get a full season's worth of data on that XFL rule book before the NFL decides to make changes. But maybe there's more operational discussions on camera angles and different perspectives, access for the fans, that review booth. How do we make it better? Maybe give them more access, but don't give them more access at the same time, like the XFL, right? There's a hybrid between what the NFL and the XFL can do. There's a lot of things other than just the field of play that I think are at play with this partnership. And I think we'll see that more so this first season than we will in the next few seasons. Because I think after this season, it'll be more about the gameplay rather than the presentation of the game.
Yeah, so you're talking about technology, will be a main focus. On the field rules, of course. One thing also we need to really, I think, highlight is that in all of the quotes we'll read and everything that was said and announced by both leagues, fans and growth of franchises and the marketing for the XFL side, none of that was mentioned. So, like, getting butts in seats for the XFL is not a priority, really, of the NFL. At least they're not saying anything like that. So I don't think we can expect, like, if there's an LA team for the Chargers and the Rams to tell their fans, go see this team play in the spring. That doesn't seem to be part of any of this deal. So we can get that out of our heads, I think, and really focus on what they're talking about when it comes to the tech and the on-field product. Danny Garcia, the head of the XFL, said, we are bringing forward an XFL that is progressive and forward-thinking when it comes to innovation, leveraging the newest technology to enhance game day experience. We have an open field for innovative rules to enhance in-game access, sharing insights and practices between the XFL and the NFL will do a tremendous amount of good for the game of football and support the player ecosystem overall. Now, while fans weren't really mentioned in this in terms of giving fans something new and being all about the fans, this is about the players and the actual sport itself. So this is going to be a focus on player safety, the sport and how it's presented on television, and the sport, how it's officiated, I think, first and foremost, taking just from those first two quotes we've read, Bryant. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And really, it does seem very similar to what we heard the XFL was trying to do with the CFL, but that felt more like a combining of leagues, whereas this is a strict partnership about the growth of the game and sharing best practices and announcing that publicly. We don't know any terms of this agreement, but it really did it made you think about the CFL announcement and how similar yet different they both were.
It does, and it really just kind of puts it in perspective, like what was the XFL's plan with the CFL, because it wasn't this with I guarantee you the XFL was not trying to practice 3-down football and say, let's see how we can make this better with the CFL, right? There was a different type of partnership there. I don't know when this NFL partnership came about, but it seems that at some point the XFL is like, let's see what kind of partnership we can get with a league. Started with the CFL, struck out there with whatever that type of partnership was trying to be. Then they reached out to the NFL. Maybe they reached out to the NFL before the CFL and really understood, hey, maybe we need to do this to partner with the NFL. I don't know, but to have them do this in a way that seemed like it was their main focus, doesn't it feel like the XFL's main focus was to get a partnership with an established league right off the bat? Maybe before anything else?
Yeah, and mission accomplished on that front. They wanted to get a partnership going where they can really get the footprint of the XFL elsewhere, other than just the renegade league image that it maybe has had since 2001. And that's a good way to do it, to get the approval, the stamp of approval from an established league. And first, they set their sights on the CFL, which made sense because you see the benefit for both leagues there. But now they've hit a home run, you got to believe, when you're in bed with the NFL. What does the NFL get out of it? Well, a ton. They really get, like everyone's calling it, a Petri dish league, an experimental league where they don't really have to put too much stake into it in terms of putting players in the XFL, giving resources to the XFL. The XFL will still be wholly independent and its own professional spring football league, but they're going to basically be granting the NFL access to learning more about what they're doing and taking from them. And what that does for the XFL, it's obvious to see. The XFL being in a relationship with the NFL, they're in a relationship with the NFL. That is basically like being knighted. You are now officially approved by the biggest body, the most important body in the sport. They have given you
you're made.
Yes, you are a made other league. They are maybe the official, unofficial other league of the NFL. They are not a minor league. They are not the NFL's official other league. There's not going to be a tab on NFL.com for the XFL, I don't think. Maybe, probably not. But just this announcement and the NFL announcing it as well. That means the NFL has given them a nod.
Let me ask you this, Alan.
Never done that before.
Yeah, but what's in it for the XFL if there isn't those types of things? And I'm asking that question because maybe I know the answer, maybe some of our listeners don't. Is, in your eyes, what does the XFL gain out of this if it's not a tab on their website? If it's not Joe Buck saying, "Hey, watch the XFL this February." What is the XFL's advantage to this type of partnership other than this? Is it just this article? Was it just February 21st?
So much more. Come on. Being known now as the NFL's Petri dish is already just gives them a ton of negotiating power when it comes to network TV negotiations and streaming negotiations. This is so much credit. They got cred now.
Do you know who my father is?
Before.
Come on.
It's basically like that, yeah. You have that, but also how much NFL involvement is there? That's a big question, because you don't want too much, because what makes the XFL good is that the XFL has the ability to innovate, but it seems like the NFL is encouraging that. And I'm sure there's the NFL, as it always will be, if things get out of line with the XFL in terms of how wide open it can become, because you put open mics on the sidelines. Woo! I don't know. Who knows with how much the NFL wants to associate itself with stuff that could happen. Like the NFL would never associate itself with XFL 2001.
But like a microphone in Antonio Brown's face while he's ripping his jersey off.
Exactly. Exactly. They've already kind of sold their soul down that road anyway. So, I mean, this is it does make sense. Am I worried as a fan of the XFL and the independence that it represents? Sure, but in the grand scheme, it does make sense. And I think when you see the NFL, the people in the NFL wanting to change the NFL from within, I think, and maybe get some help, outside help too, is interesting. You see the VP of Football Ops, Troy Vincent, announce when this announcement was made. He said, the XFL has shown us that innovation is one of its core principles. We are hopeful that this relationship will support further development and improvements in the game of football at all levels. The NFL has tried for years to make tweaks and changes to the game, but they just can't get it completely right. And now they have officially admitted, look at this other league. They do it right, and we're going to look for their help too. It is an admission by the NFL that they need to go outside.
It's an admission
their own
that
parameters.
the XFL can't. It's an admission by the NFL that they can't do it within the world of the NFL. And what I mean by that is the NFL doesn't have a minor league. The NFL has 3 preseason games that nobody cares about unless you're a player trying to get game tape. Like, that's it. You're not. If you start messing, like the biggest disaster for the NFL in the last few years was that pass interference challenge that they got rid of after one season because it was just a disaster. They tried to fix it. They couldn't. It was horrible. It was like the NBA when they changed the basketball and they realized how bad the basketball was. So what did they just changed it mid-season? Like, you can't do those things as a professional league. Like, it makes you look so bad. The NFL probably has tons of ideas, too scared to put it out there because they don't want to change the product because the product's making money, but they know they need to change the product. They just don't want to test it out. They don't want to go in the live environment. They need a quality assurance environment, a QA environment for you nerds out there. And they just found that in the XFL where they can actually, have some ideas. Listen to the XFL, what ideas they might have, what they think, what they don't think. It works well. And the NFL really gained a partner that they trust to be able to do these types of things as well. Because I think that's a big key word is trust. The NFL trusts the XFL to be a partner because the NFL doesn't just partner with anyone in terms of their actual game. It's not something that they just do.
No. And I like that too, the quality assurance. So I'm actually going to lobby now. If we don't get LA Wildcats back in 2023, I hope we get the LA QCs.
Quality control. Hell yeah.
Yeah, baby. I love it. Quality control. We're in control here on This Is the XFL Show. We're loving this. This is so good, breaking down actual news. I'm feeling it right now, Bryant. We haven't done this in a while, and now we have more quotes to get into.
This week?
But they didn't hire anybody yet. I know we're hoping for a coach, but let's get into the Kevin Seifert ESPN article that really the announcements were made, but he kind of dug into it and got quotes from everybody involved. Danny Garcia told ESPN that the partnership with the NFL is not intended to put the XFL in a position as a developmental league. So when it comes to players. as developmental talent, as a minor league like NFL Europe, that is not how this relationship will work. And I love this quote too. Danny Garcia was asked if this could end up like an NFL Europe, NFL type relationship. And that her answer to that was, that's a no. That's a no there on the XFL being like the NFL Europe. There isn't an anticipation for any player sharing. That's not how the XFL is executing their vision, according to Danny Garcia. They are still a professional spring league doing their own thing, player-wise, contract-wise. This is all about, like we said at the top of this hot read, on-field, technology, presentation, player safety. best practices. And we also got another quote from Russ Brandon, the president of the XFL, who said that the league's working on regional combines this fall and is going to test new approaches to evaluating players with the eye towards training camp next January. And though you got to believe that those new approaches to evaluating players, that kind of information, that kind of best practice will be shared with the NFL. So it's the kind of league building, the fluidity that's going to be in the XFL, the willingness to try new things, maybe call it in the ring a little bit. That's what's going to be shared with the NFL, Bryant. Yes, that's what's going to be shared with the NFL. We learned that the XFL is still a fierce independent football league from this ESPN article, which kind of really eased my worried mind. But the NFL is going to have an official and public eye on what's going on with the XFL now moving forward. Not the case in 2020 or before.
So I think there's just a lot of good things coming out of this that we're probably not even thinking about, which is awesome to think about. But I think something that I feel is there that no one's really discussing or no one's really seeing is the NFL. I just mentioned they don't just get in bed with anybody, right? They actually do. They dot their I's, they cross their T's. The XFL's plan has to be kind of almost there. The NFL is not going to put out this announcement that says, "Hey XFL, we're going to partner. Hey everyone, we're going to partner with the XFL." What's the XFL? Well, we don't know. Hopefully they have some teams, and hopefully they know what they're doing. And when they have, maybe they'll kick off next. Like that, the NFL is not going to take that chance. So when did talks end? They ended in August, I want to say, right before the CFL season kicked off. Does that feel about right? Yeah,
that sounds about right.
So I mean, those discussions have to have been had from not too far. That's what's that? Almost 6 months now to have those discussions and to figure out, and the XFL having their plan in place. I think it's a good sign.
Friend of the show, Mike Mitchell, has reported that there at least was communication between the XFL and the NFL going back, I think, to November. Yeah. So it's been in the works.
And then you also, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has been teasing probably this bit of news for the last 2 to 3 months, right? He's saying that something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Hey, look, 2 to 3 weeks, something's going to happen. And here we are. This is probably the news he was talking about. So I don't think the NFL would do this or let the XFL make this public unless the XFL had some momentum after this. I don't think we're going to go weeks without news from the XFL now. I don't think the XFL is in a position where, okay, we have this partnership, now what do we do? I think it's we know what we're doing. Let's announce this partnership. Let's start hot. Let's start fast. Let's get to the front of the pack, and then let's move.
Yeah, if you have friends, and I'm not saying we do or don't, who go up to you and say, "Is this really happening?" I don't know if it's really happening, this XFL. I mean, really, is it going to happen in 2023? Not that we haven't, Vince, excuse me. Not that people say that to me constantly. But you have to, like Bryant just said, believe the NFL didn't go to the XFL and say, "Oh, you guys are going to try a bunch of cool stuff with your league next year? Oh, have fun. All right, we'll be working with you and we'll have a good time." Hell no. They said, "What are you doing with your league? How many teams? What stadiums are you going to be in? What's your plan for TV?" The NFL now probably knows most of this information. At least
do you think the
higher ups?
The NFL would have gone to the USFL and be like, 38 players? Great. Let's test player safety. No, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not something that's going to happen. The XFL needs to have that plan in place, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it.
What rule book are you using? You don't know yet? You know that you're closer than ever to your kickoff in less than 2 months. All right, well, we got to call it the XFL. We'll talk to them tomorrow. Sorry, we'll get back to you.
The USFL is in a position where they are on their own, which might be what they want. It might be just a ratings boost, whatever it is. But the legitimacy that the NFL brings to the XFL is something that I think is second to none. Unless the SEC wants to partner with some league, that's probably the only other league you can get to partner with some other league and make them be kind of legitimate.
And And now you have to believe, and as I'm looking at a picture of the USFL's generals tweeted out their pic of Nick Truesdell, the tight end, and he's wearing a Vipers jersey in the picture that they posted, which is pretty rad.
That's great. Well, they don't have a JUCO probably pick.
But you also have to believe from the players' perspectives, you're just drafted to the USFL this week, or maybe the day after the announcement that the XFL is aligned with the NFL, and you get drafted to this league that's on a channel that broadcasts NFL games, and you're owned by a TV network that broadcasts the NFL, but they aren't. The league is not officially aligned with the NFL, and we know that it's not a player development situation, the relationship between the XFL and the NFL, but still, as a player, wouldn't you rather be in the spring league that's at least sort of connected to the NFL?
That has NFL eyeballs on the product? Like, even if the NFL is only looking at what this rule does, and that's what they're looking at, at least there's NFL eyeballs on the XFL, more so than there will be on the USFL. I mean,
I don't know if it's more so, because obviously every scout's going to watch every down of the USFL too, but not the USFL, the number 2, even though that's what it is too, the USFL TOO. But the XFL being just in partnership with the NFL is just a better look too for when you're recruiting players, I think, even if it has nothing to do with them making it to the NFL. The optics of it are just all so much more positive than being a league that's run by a TV network, and like we've been saying, and being put together on a budget that really is going to be conducive to just make sure that they can get low-cost live football on television at a time where they're just trying to get some ratings boosts. The XFL making this move, again, setting itself apart as the spring league that is really gunning for that longevity. And that's great.
It's 2 times in a row where the XFL just feels bigger. It feels better. It's weird how much time can give you that legitimacy that the XFL has brought to the table both times now, in 2020 and now going to be for 2023, I think. Look, we never say never. None of us sat here in 2018 and thought a pandemic would ruin the 2020 season for the XFL. I know there was some stupid report by some stupid wrestling reporter.
I was waiting for you to say it.
Did you read that? I was so mad. I hate that man so much.
Oh, don't say that. Don't. Hate's a strong word. That's Uncle Dave.
It is a strong word. Uncle Dave. My gosh. But
Bryant's referencing the Dave Meltzer report that the XFL was doomed even before COVID, but
just this can't even.
We're not going to get into it.
Well, but what I'm saying is like, the XFL did everything it could to be successful and ran into something that nobody could have predicted. Right? That's what happened. The XFL is doing it again, where they're doing everything they can to be successful. Doing something a spring league, an independent spring league, is trying to do is survive. And they're the first time that they're actually partnering legitimately with the NFL in some way, not just being broadcasted on their channel. This could open the door for a broadcasting opportunity for them. Who knows? Maybe, but there's things that are happening that the XFL feels are going to help them in the future, that are going to help the spring football in general, the players, and these other leagues, the AAF and now the USFL, are pretty much succumbing. Is it succumbing? No, succumbing. Succumbing. Thank you. Succumbing. To the pressures of time, and the XFL gives itself that time. The other leagues don't, and look what happens. So we'll see. I could be eating crow. This might not age well. Save this tape for 2 years from now. Who knows? But
when you and I are at the USFL championship game in Canton, and we'll play it back.
There you go. We might be there anyway. Maybe. It might be a fun thing, but
I mean, I've been saying I'd love to see both leagues just go on forever, and they both exist. Can they? That's another question for another show. But as this hot reads rolled on and we wind it down, I do also want to bring up, now that we've been talking about it, it's now in my head, that you say the NFL probably knows about the XFL's plans. And what they're doing, and this is a football ops relationship. Well, damn it, the NFL has to have some idea of what the XFL rulebook is going to look like. And you have to believe people at the NFL saw 2020's rulebook, especially that damn kickoff, and liked it. And
maybe they want to tweak it. Maybe they want to tweak it.
And maybe want to tweak it, yeah. But I just have a good feeling that a lot of what worked in 2020 is coming back, and you love to see that the 2023 version is doing different things too from 2020, maybe even bigger and bolder, because our relationship with the NFL is pretty bold. And I mean, this is just great to see. Next up, hopefully someone leaks that rule book, because now more people have to know about it, right? The NFL's involved. You got the XFL announcements that come.
I hope it's a green spiral college rule notebook.
You mean like Henry Winkler and Waterboy's rule book?
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Coach Klein.
Mr. Coach Klein. Yeah, you're right. I love it.
It's a great time to be an XFL fan right now. I feel like this is just a start. And hopefully the XFL is that type of racer or horse or whatever, I guess skier, speed skater, we'll say, because the Olympics just finished up, that they'll get to the front of the pack and they'll stay there. That's their position. Pole position 1, XFL. Let's get all the way through now.
If you're talking about spring leagues racing each other, of course. I get the analogy.
Well, I mean, I don't even mean racing. Well, okay, fair. That's not what I was going for, but that totally makes more sense than what I'm about to go for. But what I'm saying is the XFL is starting hot. They started with this, and now I feel like they can start heading in the right direction and keep this momentum going. It's all about momentum. And hopefully this starts it and keeps it going.
The Rock on the 50-yard line 1 week, announcing a partnership with the NFL.
We're recording on a Wednesday. I told you, are you sure we're not going to get anything by Friday? You said you highly doubt. I'm not so sure. So, hey, we're recording on a Wednesday. We have pre-commitments in life right now, so we'll see what happens. But I don't know, man. We might wake up on Monday and we have to do a whole new show again. You're
right. You know, so it's we said this was going to happen in 2022 as well. So just strap in, and if you're losing sleep, it's probably a good thing, because things are happening and we're talking and we're having fun, at least between Bryant and I. we're doing these shows no matter what else life throws at us, work or whatever. I don't care. I'll do the show at the drop of a hat, kind of like what we did this week. And this was fun to put together and even more fun to talk about. The XFL aligned with the NFL. Dag nabbit. Who would have guessed? A lot of people, but it's actually real now. Now let's see what's next. My prediction, rulebook leakage.
You think it's the rulebook?
How do things not leak? I don't understand. Where's the reporting here, people? Come on, let's get us some hot gossip and get it out there.
Now that the NFL is tied, do you think all those NFL insiders are getting their hands on everything, right? That's the big thing, right? The XFL never had... I mean, Mike Mitchell, all credit to him. He was the best insider... One of the best insiders in professional football, and definitely the best insider in XFL.
Sports. Yeah, sports.
All the credit to him.
Now there's going to be more people trying to work at it, too. Your close personal, longtime, dear, good friend and favorite Mike Florio, I'm sure, will get involved, and other NFL insiders. You got your Schefters and your Rappaports.
Well, it's weird. You know, I don't know if Mike Florio would get involved, because the XFL's ratings were tanking. They were going all the way down. They're getting less and less every single week. They're not going to stick around. You know, so what? He probably just, you know, this partnership's not going to work.
Well, it's now aligned with the NFL, so maybe
imagine caring so much about ratings, Florio Meltzer, that you would think that this is bad. Like, how is this possible? If ratings is all that matters.
Stay tuned for our conspiracy football show, where Brian talks about how Mike Florio and Dave Meltzer are out to ruin the game of football. And that's going to be on another feed, and he'll be announcing
Vince will
that
appreciate this, because I know he's listening, or he will be listening. Controversy creates cash with those two gentlemen right there.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that. The creating of cash, that's what happens when you're aligned with the NFL for sure, usually. So we'll see if that generates for the XFL. We hope, and thanks to everybody for following along
Sticking
to this
around,
point.
sticking
with us.
around to this
more
point.
More people are going to be joining now. We apologize to all the 209ers last episode. Everybody who watched it and then immediately was like, well, all that was kind of irrelevant because they're with the NFL now. Hey, you watched it.
There was some great USFL draft analysis right there, breakdown. If you want to take that there. But either way, whether it be news coming out on Monday, news coming out on Tuesday, news coming out right after we air the show on a Sunday, we're still going to be here for you every single week right here on your favorite podcast app. That's Google, Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you give us that 5-star review and tell your friends about us because now they know what's going on. If you got a question, comment, or topic you want us to cover, we'll call or text the XFL Fan Line 724-565-4XFL. Remember, standard text messaging rates do apply. Follow us on all social media platforms at XFL Show, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere. The XFL, if the NFL tells you to follow it, follow us there at XFL Show, or subscribe and watch us on YouTube at www.xfl.show, the official website of This Is the XFL Show. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Pretty Easy Podcast. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com and get started today because they make podcasting pretty easy.
So in addition to being the original official XFL podcast, could we now call ourselves the original official other league NFL podcast? The original official unofficial other league NFL podcast.
We
Gotta
are
avoid that.
We are the perfect complement podcast of the XFL.
The Petri dish for all football podcasts.
Alan,
right
I put
here.
this together. I wasn't going to share it, but I thought this was I had to do it. I don't know why I did it, but I did it.
You love your memes. You love your memes. He's a meme machine. The poor CFL. Hey, respect to everybody up north. We'll be watching next season either way, but look what you could have had. No.
This is what you could. It's like calling your ex-girlfriend up from high school and be like, yeah, what's going on? And she's like, or ex-boyfriend for that matter. Just, yeah, I just bought myself a new car. How's your 1996 Toyota Corolla doing? How's your 3 downs going there, CFL?
Oh, come on. I would say it's like a
hey, Edmonton.
Corolla.
Edmonton, how's that? How's your coach? Huh?
Oh.
Edmonton? How's that treating you?
It is a different world we're in because just a few months ago, CFL people were looking at the XFL like John Lovitz in Wedding Singer, where we were saying, "Good luck finding someone who can move and shake like this." Now the XFL's with the NFL, baby. John Lovitz.
You think the CFL's like, there's only 2 families in this town. All
right, well,
they're not going to partner with us. They're going to partner with the NFL. Come on.
Yeah.
I think it's great, though. I will say this because I didn't mention it. ESPN getting that kind of access to and ESPN being the worldwide leader, right? But ESPN getting that kind of access bodes well for the XFL as well, too, in terms of partnerships, television, who knows? Because the ESPN was really the only one who came out with that kind of article. Everything else was pretty much just reiterations of the statements that are posted publicly.
Yeah. And the wind is blowing towards ESPN's way, I think. We'll see what happens with that for the XFL on TV. But they had that great article. Go read that Kevin Seifert article. That was great. Read everything that came out this week from the NFL, of course, the XFL, but also the likes of Mike Mitchell and the people who really cover the XFL in and out and have been. Great week, fun week for everybody. Enjoyed it. Also, congrats to the USFL for having a successful draft. I'm excited to see what's next in their build-up. They are closer than ever.
Are they?
They are closer
to see what's next.
They are. They're closer than ever because they're all going to go to Birmingham next.
Yeah.
Get ready, Alabama.
My wife asked me to
USFL.
book a vacation tonight to see if we could. She wants something to look forward to. She asked me to book a vacation. I asked her Birmingham, and she said Alabama, and so that's where that ended.
See, I don't. Okay, maybe this weekend. Maybe I just got a bunch of boxes of wine for a family event this weekend. My wife, I know, is going to be in a positive state of mind, having fun. And maybe that's when I'll crack the question one more time, just for one more try.
As long as you don't book it, because if you book it, your wife will be extremely upset at you. One, for booking, and two, probably because you know you didn't get the best deal.
That's
your wife does all my travel. Your wife
Yeah.
does all my booking because she just, for some reason, I never have to pay for anything. It's really weird.
She's the number one unofficial, unlicensed travel agent in the world for sure. But I might actually, you're right. I'm going to scratch that and just save it for pop the question about Canton instead of going to Alabama. I think Alabama is just a wash. Not going to happen for me. So maybe I'll see you.
It'd be a weekend worth of football. That'd be kind of exciting. I mean, that would be cool. Don't get me wrong. The concept's great. Go watch a whole weekend, 4 games.
And now your idea, someone also called this out from last week, of an XFL championship game coinciding with an NFL draft, maybe. That could happen. It's possible.
I was looking at the timing. The timing didn't work right now the way the NFL draft is, but maybe they push the NFL draft out a week. Maybe they figure out how to align this. I don't know. There's different possibilities. Maybe the XFL goes to I don't know. But yeah, there's just tons of possibilities, tons of options that open up that I can't wait to talk about. In the NFL, although sometimes we have our problems with the NFL, I feel like this one they made an actually good decision.
What a great week for the NFL to just win Bryant over. The Rams are the champs, and
Aaron Donald kind of said that we're going to run it back.
Aaron Donald's probably coming back. It's just a good week for football fan Bryant. I'm happy for you, but just you wait, because when the Maulers and the Panthers hook up, no more friends. Right, the Panthers, that's your team?
Yeah, it's my Panthers.
Okay.
That's my team.
That's my Panthers.
That's my Panthers. Don't mess with my Panthers.
All right. I was just double checking, see if he's going to flip-flop his team every week from that league. All right, everybody. Well, again, at XFL Show, if you want to hit us up during the week, or call that fan line, and we will play your voicemails on the show if you want. We got a text this week we didn't get to from an angry Rams fan. Loved it. Loved the energy. Didn't have the time to go over everything on it in the text message we got this week.
An angry Rams fan. I did not see that, but I will look at that as soon as we stop.
I'll have to send you. It was great. lot of conspiracies about that Super Bowl and calling you out. I loved it, every word. But
I feel like
that's just the fun we
called
have.
out on this show. Why? What did I do? I'm just a Rams fan who lost his team when he was 7 years old and got it back.
That's one perspective of it. Yeah, for sure.
It's like my dog went to St. Louis, chilled there for 15, 25, whatever it was, and then came back, and I found him.
You know, you're acting like a little kid wearing one of those little hats with a spinny wheel on it, just loving football and forgetting all the things you said about the city of St. Louis on this show.
I just they stole my team, and I took it back.
I'm not one to hold a grudge, but St. Louis, I understand if you have one. Just don't hold it against me. You know I love you. And we appreciate everyone there and all over the world for listening to this and watching this show on XFL.show. We can't wait to be back for the next one, but we got to get out of here now. For Bryant, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're watching. The NFL is too, I guess.